So we first talk about the setup time constraint, or we also call this the cycle time constraint. The setup time constraint depends on the maximum delay of the registers and the combinational logic. And so the setup time constraint is going to determine our cycle time. So let's suppose we get a clock edge here on this register on the left, R1. We get a clock edge. We want to determine, well, when could that next clock edge be to sample it out of register 2, R2? Well, the maximum delay it will take to get from the clock, once we have the clock edge out of the register, is TPCQ, propagation clock to Q. And then the maximum delay the data will take to get to D2 is propagation delay of that combinational logic. And then we have to be at D2, that data has to be stable at D2 at least a setup time before the next clock edge. So we draw our cycle here. This is TC, right, our cycle time of our clock, our next rising edge. Well, we have to have it be, we get a clock edge, T propagation clock to Q, plus TPD, the combinational logic, plus a setup time. That's the earliest we can get that next clock edge. If we add all those together, it barely got there in time, set up, and then we get a next clock edge. So we write it. So TC has to be greater than or equal to propagation clock to Q plus propagation delay plus setup time, which is the time to get for the data to get out of the register through the combinational logic and set up to the second register R2 in time for the next clock edge. We can also write this in terms of TPD, the delay that we have control over as a designer, right? What kind of gates we design within the combinational logic. And so then we just take these and bring them to the other side, subtract them from TC, and we get TPD is less than or equal to, well, TC minus this propagation clock to Q plus setup time. And that time is called the sequencing overhead, which is the price we pay. Right? Ideally, we'd use that entire cycle time to do calculations. But that getting out of the register, TPCQ, and getting the data back into the next register is the sequencing overhead, the price we pay for using the registers. And this constraint is also called the cycle time constraint because it's determining the clock period or the cycle time.